Welcome to Web Technology Laboratory. Now let's move on to the next lab program, that is lab program 5. It is of extensible markup language, that is XML. Before moving to the program, let us understand what do you mean by that XML. What is the syntax of writing the XML document? What is the advantage of using this XML? Okay. Now let's start with what is XML. XML stands for it is Extensible Markup Language. It is a markup language mainly used to provide some information about a document. Try to understand. This language mainly used to provide the information about a document itself. Here, the tags are added to the document to provide the extra information. Let me tell you one thing. The HTML tags which tells the browser that how to display the document, whereas in the XML, the tags which gives which give a reader some idea about what some of the data means or what is the data is about to. This is about the XML tags. Next is what is the use of that XML means. The XML documents are used to transfer the data from one place to another over the internet, and it are the mainly the subsets of or designed for particular applications. Now let us know what is the advantage of using this XML means. The XML is the text based, that is a Unicode. Let me tell you what do you mean by that. Unicode means just like Java, the XML is also uses Unicode to encode the characters. Unicode comes in many flavors. The most common used are UTF-8. Anyone is going to understand in the program. This UTF-8 is a variable length code. Here the characters are encoded in 1 byte, 2 bytes or 4 bytes. The first 128 characters in the Unicode are ASCII. That is the UTF-8 means the numbers between 128 as and 255 code for some of the more common characters. Next is the XML document can be displayed in differently in different media like HTML, video, CD, DVD, and also we can change the XML document in order to change all the rest of the things. And one more thing, the XML documents can also be modularized. That is, it can be subdivided in terms of modules. Then the modules can also be reused. Let us take an example here. Just have a look on that HTML document. We already know that how to create the HTML document or what are all the things which should present in the HTML document. We know that every HTML document should start with the tag HTML followed by the tags called as head, title as well as the body. We know that the HTML document is consisting of two parts, header part as well as the body part. In the header part, we can specify the title. The title is optional. And next, coming to the body tag, whereas whatever the contents which you want to display on the browser, those things should be specified within this body tag by making use of different tags. Just look at that. These are all the tags which are already available in the HTML. That is HTML root tag, then head tag for specifying the header part. Next, title to show the title of the document. Body, then we are using some heading tags H1, H2. Okay, these are all the tags which are already present in the HTML document. Next, look at the XML document, how it will going to look. Anyway, I will going to explain in detail about this document line by line. Just have a look on that. First, we are having some declaration, followed by some document type, that is a doc type, then followed by some command line. Then we started with some XML code, starting with XML characters, followed by the address. Just look at that. What does that address means? It is a user defined tags. The main difference between HTML to XML is that here the user can define its own tag to display its content. That is called as a user defined tags in the XML. Moreover, in the XML, we are not using any predefined tags. Instead, we can create or we can use our own tags. This is the main difference between HTML to the XML. Just look at that. In HTML, we not come across with this type of tag like address, name, email, phone, birthday, etc. But these are all called as the user defined tags which are used in the XML. By looking at the tag itself, we can say that, oh, this is what the meaning which we are specified in that tag. Just look at that. Here the name, inside that we are specifying some content. Again we are closing the tag. Remember one thing, whatever the tags which we are creating, the tag should be that tag should have the closing tags. Just look at that. We are open one tag name followed by closing the tag. Again the same concept of closing the tag, that is forward slash followed by the tag name. But look at that, inside that I'm specifying some content. This content says that oh it can be the name, likewise email ID, phone number, date of birth. Likewise the tag itself, it's explain its meaning. Next, let us know what is the difference between HTML as well as the XML. The HTML tags have a fixed meaning and the browsers know what it is. We know that we already used a few tags like p tag. The name itself tells that it is paragraph, so it is for used only for displaying the content in paragraph. Heading tag for to display the headings or some text in terms of headings. We can make use of that heading tags. Whereas coming in the XML tags are different for different applications and the users know what they mean. Try to understand. In the HTMLs, the browsers know what it is about that HTML tags, whereas in that XML, the user know what is the meaning of its tag. Okay, let us take an example of the name of, we used some tag called as the name. If we use that name for a person, then it says that it is name of the person. Or the same tag, the name can be used for any vehicles, then it says that name of that vehicles. The tags are same, but the meanings are different. Likewise, the XML tags are having different for are behaving different for different applications. Next is HTML tags are used for display, whereas the XML tags are used to describe the documents as well as the data. What is the document or what is the data itself can be explained by making use of this XML tags. Try to understand. In the HTML, the tags are used for display, whereas in the XML, the tags are used to describe the documents as well as the data. Next is XML rules. While writing any XML documents, we need to follow certain rules. Before that, let me tell you one thing. While writing any XML document, here the structure of the document can be of two types. It can be the simple structure, that is a low-level structures, as well as the high-level structures. Low-level structures means we are not using any grammars for that. In order to say that the name should be letters, phone number should be numbers, as well as the date of birth should be in this format. Likewise, we are not following any certain rules. It is called as the lower level structure. For example, if you are following certain rules to write the document, it is called as the higher level structure. Anymore later on, I will explain that structure and all, but don't worry about that. We are using only the simple, there is a low level structures in the XML document. Just look at that. The tags are enclosed in the angle brackets as it is HTML. The tags should come in pairs with the start tags and the end tags. Try to understand. In the HTML, some of the tags need not be closed, but in the XML, we are supposed to close the tags because these are all the user-defined tags. And the tags must be properly nested. That is, if you are writing any tags inside one more tag, means first we need to close the inner side tag, then only we need to close the outer tags. Just look at that. Name, email means first we need to here just look at that. Name, email. First we are closing the name, next we are closing the email. It is not allowed. We are supposed to close like that. That is name, email. Close that email. Later only we can close the name. Here the forward slash is missing, but it should be closed with the closing tag. The tags do not have ending tags must be terminated by slash. Try to understand. If you are using any inline tags, means then and there itself we need to close. Anymore we are not using. If you are combining any tags like that, we are supposed to close that tags like this. Next, let us know some more rules about that XML. The tags are case sensitive. Try to understand. Here, these are all called as the user-defined tags. Means for our reference or for our purpose, we are creating the tags. So whatever the syntax we are using for creating the opening tag, the same thing should be used in the closing tag. Again, whatever we used, that is, if you are using some uppercase or combination, the same thing should be used. If you are using differently, then it acts as a different tags. Just look at that. Address is in lowercase letters, whereas in the another tag, the A is in uppercase letters. So it is taken as two different tags, not as one. Next is XML in any combination of cases is not allowed as the part of the tag. Try to understand. Next, the tags may not contain less than or ampersand symbol. Inside that, we are not able to write the symbols, that is a character entities. Next, the tags follow Java naming conventions except that the single colon or other characters are allowed. While writing the tags names, we are following that. This must be begin with a letter or may not contain white spaces. Try to understand while writing any tag, it should be starting with a letter and it should not contain the white space. And one more thing, documents must have a single root tag that defines the document. Before writing any XML document, whatever the first tag we are writing, it is considered as the root tag, and it should be, it says that is, it should be at the beginning of the document and it should be the single. Next, coming to the XML document structure, we already know that HTML document structure, right? How it looks like that. Here also the XML is also having certain structure. Before that, as I said in the earlier, the XML document can be written in two ways. That is by using the two levels called as a general low level syntax as well as the high level syntax. Low level syntax means simply we are using the simple tags, that is no need to follow certain rules or the procedures. It is called as the low level. While coming to the high level means there we are following certain rules to write the tags. For example, name means it should be in letters, and that is the alphabet. Phone number means it should be in numbers, it should be from 0 to 9. Or for example, if it is year means it should consisting of 4 digits. Likewise, we are following certain rules. Those rules are specified in either in the DTD or in the XML schema. Anyway, don't worry about that. Just it's an added information to you. Anyway, we are using the lower level syntax to write the XML document. Here, the XML document consisting of many parts, but the XML documents have two main parts, that is the document information followed by the document body. Here, let me tell you what do you mean by the document information. Just look at that. The document information mainly consisting of four things, that is XML declaration, document type definition, next comment line, as well as the styling, as well as the processing instruction. Try to understand the document information mainly consisting of four parts, that is XML declaration, DTD, that is document type definition, comment line, as well as styling and processing instructions. Here I will explain. Just look at that. In this XML document, it consisting of four things. There is a two parts mainly. These four lines which comes under the document information. This is about the document information, whereas this last remaining lines tells about the document body. Okay, the first line, this XML version 1.0 encoding UTF-8. This is called as the document or a XML declaration. This is called as what? XML declaration. Try to understand. XML version 1.0, then encoding UTF-8. This is called as what? Document or XML declaration. This declaration is optional. Try to understand. This declaration is optional, and it must be, if you are specifying means, it must be the first line in XML document. If you write that declaration, and also it tells that document written is in XML, which tells that whatever the document we are writing, it is in XML, and also tells that the version used to write the document. Here which says that which version we are using to write the document. The version is 1.0. Anyway, for all the XML documents in our syllabus, we are writing only 1.0. We can also have 1.1 likewise, but anyway, we are using 1.0 is the version. Next is, it also tells that encoding style used to encode the XML document, that is UTF-8. As I said in the earlier, we are using here the XML uses the Java-like Unicode to encode the characters. We are using the Unicode character called as a UTF-8, and it is in the ASCII value, that is Unicode are in the ASCII. And also one thing here, if the XML document along with that two attributes, try to understand. Here we are specifying two attributes in this declaration. One is version, the other one is encoding. Along with that, we can include one more thing that is called as the standalone. The standalone tells that what it depends on the another external document. If in try to understand here, I'm not specifying because it is not depending on any other document. So if you are specifying means, or if the document is depending on the another document means, I can include one more attribute called as the standalone, and the value is also yes. Try to understand here the version is 0. Try to understand here I'm specifying the attribute is equal to value. Here attribute means some piece of information. Here we are using two attributes, version as well as the encoding. The value is specified within these two, that is within that two double quotes, we are supposed to specify that value. The version is 0 and unique encoding is also UTF -8. And one more thing, it should starts with the less than question mark symbol and it should ends with a question mark greater than symbol here. And one more thing, usually in the W3C it recommends to include this XML declaration, but it is also optional. Next, coming to the next thing that is called as the, try to understand here, I'm explaining one by one. The first thing is what? XML declaration. Next is document type definition, that is called as what? DTD. Simply call it as a document type definition or DTD. What does the DTD means? As I said in earlier, while writing any XML document, we are following two syntactic structures. One is the lower level, the other one is the higher level. In the lower level, we are not following any certain procedures or the rules to write the XML document. While in the second thing, there is a higher level, we are following certain rules. The rules are specified in this called as the document type definition, or one more thing that is called as the XML schema. Again, while comparing this DTD as well as the XML schema, DTD is simple, whereas the schema is complex. Anyway, it is out of syllabus, but remember, the syntactic structures can be defined in this DTD. That is a document type definition, which is used to define the XML document, and it is used, what is the use of using this DTD means to validate our XML document. Validation means to check the correctness of our document. That is, oh, the name should be in the letters or it should be in the alphabets. Is it matching? Yes, it is matching means we validate the document. Then we are checking for the phone number, whether it is 10 digits, 9 digits, likewise. Or if you are checking for the date of birth, whether it is in this format or not. Likewise, to validate our document, we are using the DTD. Again, this DTD can be either internal or external. Internal or external means, as we already discussed in the cascading style sheets, the style sheet can be written inside the document or we can also write externally. Then we can call that through the link. Here also, the rules for the XML documents can be written inside the XML document or we can also write the separate files. Then we can call that files through that link. The next thing is, along with that, the DTD rules tells that which element is allowed to nest inside another element. The nesting of the tags, the rules to be followed also specified in the DTD. Just look at that. Here it says that the document type system. Remember again, the doc type can be a case sensitive. Either we can write it in a lowercase or uppercase. Then document system. I'm using person.ttd. Person.ttd means inside that file we are specifying the rules. Anymore, don't worry about that. Just have some information. That is, we are writing one separate file called as the person.ttd. In that we are having certain rules to write the XML document or to validate whatever the document which you are written. Next content is the comment. The comment here is the optional one. We are following the same procedure like in the HTML. That is less than exclamatory followed by the comment line. Here also we are following the same thing. The comments are the optional part of XML document which are similar to that HTML. And one more thing, whatever the content written inside this comment is ignored by the parser. Try to understand in the HTML while opening the document through the browsers, just it will going to display the content, whereas in the XML it will going to parse the document. Try to understand. I think you already know that what do you mean by parsing, right? Checking the correctness of the document by making use of the grammar, right? Grammar means what? The set of rules. According to the rules, you are going to check whether this given data is or a given whatever the parsing you are done is correct or not will be done by making use of the grammars. Here also, if you are using any DTD, according to the DTD, we are going to parse the XML document to check the correctness. Usually the comment part is not parsed by the parser, and also the comments can appear anywhere inside the XML document. Next, coming to the last part of that declaration, that is styling and processing instruction. The styling and processing instructions begin with the symbol less than question mark, and it should end with a question mark greater than symbol. These instructions are instructions for the XML processor. Try to understand, these are all the instructions for the XML processors. The processing instructions are processor dependent, so not all the processor understand all processing instructions. Here try to understand, in the XML we are using two types of processors, that is DOM as well as the SAS. It is for your information, guys. Here we are using different types of parsers to processors in order to parse our document, but anyhow it is depending on that content or the XML document what we are going to written, and all the processors should not understand all the processing instructions. Just look at that. Here we are writing that less than question mark symbol followed by XML style sheet. Here I'm writing that the style sheet where we are fetching that style is equal, type is equal to text slash CSS. That is a MIME specification. That content is text, the subtype is the CSS, and href is equal to styles.css. In order to, as I said, we already know that HTML tags which are used to display the content, whereas the XML tags which describes the content. Here, in order to display as well as describe the XML contents, we need to style our XML documents, right? For that reason, we are using this styles.css, that is the cascading style sheets. Next, coming to the second part, along with that, in the declaration part, we can also specify the white spaces. The white spaces can be created using carriage return, line feed, or the tab. This white spaces cannot affect the parsing of a document. Users are free to use this white spaces anywhere inside the document. But the XML recommendation specifies that the XML document use the Linux convention for, or Unix convention for a line endings, that is a /n/t likewise. Okay, next coming to the second part of the XML structure, that is called as the document body. Here the document body mainly consisting of the root element followed by the child, that is the sub elements, and lastly the ending of the closing tags. Here these are all the mandatory fields actually in the document body. As I said in the earlier, whatever the tags which we are writing, it is called as the user defined tags, so it should be having closing tag. Let's start with the root element. Here just look at that. Just look at this example. The first line is called as the XML declaration, then document type definition, comment line, and lastly the processing as well as the style declaration. The remaining part, this part is called as what the XML document, that is a document body itself. Here it is consisting of mainly three things, that is the root element, opening root element, closing root element, inside this child elements. So these are all called as the mandatory fields. Here the first thing, here the address is called as the root node or the root element. Each XML document must have one and only one root element. Try to understand, here it should be the only one root element, and it should be mandatory. The address itself is called as the root element, and it should be only one. Other XML elements must be nested inside this root element. Inside this address, I can specify n number of elements. Then it is called as the sub elements or the child nodes, or it is also called as the remaining things. Or if we're writing inside one more name, if I writing first name, last name, middle name, then they are called as the child nodes of this name. Whereas this name, email, phone, birthday are called as the sibling of that main root element. And one more thing, next is come back to this. Here Next is the child elements as well as the content. The name, email, phone, birthday are called as the child elements. They are also called as the siblings. And lastly, the root element, there is a closing tag. The closing tag of the root element, always the closing tag of the document itself. And along with that, this XML document can be organized as a tree structure. And also we can have the user defined tags. It can consist of any number of nodes. This is about the basic things which are related to that XML document. Okay, now let's move on to the actual lab program. Here, as I said in the earlier itself, that is a lab program 5. Design an XML document to store the information about a student in an engineering college affiliated to VTU. The information must include USN, name of the college, branch, year of joining, and also email ID. Make up sample data for 3 students, create a CSS style sheet and use it to display the document. First, try to understand the question, guys. The first thing is we are supposed to design XML document. What is the reason for that XML document? To store some information. Which type of information? The information about the student, and that is a student of engineering college. What are all the things should be included in that student information? That is its name, USN, name of the college, branch, as well as year of joining, and lastly email ID. These are the things should be present inside the student record or a student document. For this thing, we are supposed to create the 3 sample data, that is a 3 student details. Along with that, we are supposed to make use of the cascading style sheets to display the document in a different view. That is, try to understand the XML tags which are used to document as well as describes the data. For that reason, we are using the documentation is about the students, that is the details regarding name, USN, branch, college, year of joining, email ID, etc. Along with that, I need to display this data in a different representation by making use of the cascading style sheets. In the question itself, they specified make use of the cascading style sheets. Okay, just have a look on that. This is program is about the XML. Remember one thing, guys, here the HTML program should be ended with the extension .html, whereas in the XML the extension should be .xml and it should be in the lowercase letter. Just have a look on that program, guys, snippet, code snippet. Later I will explain one by one line in detail. Here, up to this is about the XML. The next thing is the cascading style sheets. The question itself, they specified that make use of the cascading style sheets to display the data. Here I'm using a separate file for that style sheets. Anyway, later I will explain. Just have a look. Okay, let's start with the first thing, that is first line of the program, that is XML style sheet type. Type is equal to text slash CSS, then href is equal to program 5.css. Guys, try to understand. Here I'm not using any XML declaration. Try to understand. We know that XML document is consisting of 2 parts. One is the XML declaration. That is the XML declaration part. The other one is the document body. In the XML declaration part, we left with the XML declaration. We are not specifying any declaration. Next, also document type definition. As I said in the earlier, here we are not using any higher level structure. Simply we are following the simple, that is a lower level structure. So no need to use of DTDs as well as the schema. So I'm directly moving to the processing instructions, and also I'm not using any comment lines here. Directly we are moving to that styling and processing instructions. We know that this begins with the symbol less than question mark, then the style sheet. Next, followed by the 2 attributes. Type is equal to text slash CSS. There is a MIME specification which tells that the content is of type, and we are using the style sheets, that is a subtype is the cascading style sheets. Next, href attribute, hypertext reference, which is referred to the another file, that is a program file.css. In the question itself, they specify that whatever the contents which we are displaying about the student, it should be displayed by making use of the cascading style sheet. So I'm using one more external file called as the program file.css. This line is called as what? The styling and processing style sheet, instructions. Next, as I said in the earlier, href means the attribute specifies the link's destination, where it should redirect. Next, coming to the next line, that is a doc type HTML. Guys, try to understand, we are writing the XML inside that HTML document. So first I need to specify that doc type HTML, as we already know that it is a DTD means must appear near the beginning of the document. It is a shorthand for document type definition, which tells the browser what type of document it is about to process. And one more thing, it should be at the beginning and it should be case insensitive, and it also tells that it is the HTML document, inside that we are using the XML content. Next, coming to the next things, that is the HTML tag followed by the header tag. As we know that HTML is the root tag for HTML. Guys, don't get confusion. In the HTML, I'm using the XML tags. Here in the HTML, inside that I'm using header tag. We know that in order to describe the content of that document, we are using that HTML. Inside that I'm specifying one heading called as the student description. Student's description, the H1 we know that is a heading tag. In order to display the content in a high bold face, we are using that H1 tag, and close that H1 as well as the head tag. Next, coming to the students. Here from student onwards, it is called as the document body of the XML document. Students means here the students, try to understand, I'm using students, don't get confusion. Here it is students, the next tag is student. As I said in the earlier, if you are changing any, or if you are adding extra character, or if you are changing the cases of that characters in the tag, then it behaves like a two different tags. Here the student is called as the root tag, whereas the student is called as the child of that student's tag. Here the students, it is called as the root tag, and here try to understand, it is also called as the root element. Each XML document must have one and only root element. Here we are having only one students as called as the root element, and whatever the elements which you are writing, it should be properly nested inside that root element. Next is the next student tag. This tag is called as the child of that root node, that is called as the subnodes of the root node students. Remember, it's simply the student. Next is, these are all contents called as the USN, name, college, branch, year, email ID. They are called as the subnodes of the subnode student. That is, these are all about the student one details. Try to understand, guys. In the question itself, they specify that the student detail should be USN, name, college, branch, year, as well as the email ID. Here I am using the user defined tag USN. Just look at that, the USN is in uppercase letter, and the closing tag is also in uppercase letters. It should be ended with that /. It says that it is the closing tag of USN. And remember, inside that I am specifying the USN of a student. But our reference, in order to display the content in a in one proper format, I'm using again USN. Don't get confusion. Here USN. Anymore, while executing the program, I will tell you about this, how it will going to display. USN, the USN of the student, name. Again, for the don't get confusion, these are all the content. Whatever the information which we are presenting inside this tag, these are all the content. It will display as it is on the browser. But this name matters. Okay, this name, it matters. It should look at that, the name tag indicates that the name of the student, and it should be ended with a closing tag. Next, college, then the college name, branch, then close that branch, it is it is hidden. Next, year of joining, then email ID. This is about the first student details. Next, coming to the next thing, try to understand here one of the student tag, that is inside that I'm specifying the student one details. Likewise, I mean, again I'm repeating that second student details by making use of the same tag that is called as the student. For entering the student 2 details, again name, USN name, college, branch, year, as well as the email ID. Likewise for the third student details, name, call, there is USN name, college, branch, year, as well as the email ID. Close that inside tag, then close the root element, there is a closing tag, at the end close this HTML tag. This is about the XML document. Don't get confusion, guys. The student, this tag is called as child of the root node students. This is about the XML document. Now let's move on to the cascading style sheet. Okay, next continue with the cascading style sheet files. As I said in the earlier, guys, in the declaration itself is specified that XML style sheet type is equal to text slash CSS followed by href is equal to program5.css. If the cascading style sheets files are separately or externally used, the file name should be ended with the extension dot, that is a .css extension. Here we are using separate file. As we already know that the cascading style sheets are used to format the layout of a web page. CSS can be added to the HTML documents or XML document in a 3 different ways, that is inline, internal, as well as the external. Inline means in the tag itself, inside the tag, by making use of the attributes we can specify the styles. Internal means we can embed the style sheet by making use of the style tag. We already discussed in the previous programs. The last thing is external, that is in this program we are using external style sheets. Separately we are creating one file called as the style sheet with the extension .css. Later on we are calling that file by making use of the attribute href, that is hypertext reference. Next, look at that. In order to specify the styles, the CSS selectors are used to find here in order to specify the style sheets for the styles for the elements. We can make use of the different selectors. Here, why we are using that selectors means to find the HTML elements if you want to style. Here, we are using in the CSS we are having different types of selectors like contextual, class selectors, ID selectors, pseudo selectors, element selectors. Anyway, we are using the element selectors. Element selectors means whenever we come across with this elements in the XML document, this properties will be applied to that elements. Here we are using the element selector. This element selectors which selects the HTML elements based on the element name. Here just look at that, this display name, margin, font size, color, these are all called as the properties. Each individual cascading style sheets declaration must contain a property. The properties, try to understand, we are following certain that is a syntax in order to write these properties. There is an element name followed by the flower braces and ending with a close, there is a curly braces ending with the closing braces, and each property should be ended with the semicolon. Try to understand. First we write the first property ending with a semicolon, second property ending with a semicolon, third property likewise at the end we need to close the curly braces. These are all called as the properties. The property can be text, color, background, border, spacing, sizing, etc. Here just look at that. In that we are using the different properties. The first thing is called as the display property. Here the display property which specifies the display behavior of an element. Anyway, we are using the block as a value. It can be the different value like inline, contents, etc. But we are using block which displays an element as a block element, like it starts on the new line and takes up the whole width. It takes the entire width of that content. Next is the margin left, that is how it will to left, from the left margin it should be the 20 pixel. Next the font size of the content should be in the 14 points and the color should be in the blue. It is for specified for all the tags. Like try to understand, we use the different tags called as student, name, USN, name, USN, college, branch, year, as well as the email ID. We are specifying different, try to understand, we are specifying different properties called display, margin, font, as well as the color, but the same old properties used for all the tags except the color value has been changed. This is about the cascading style sheets.
to specify the styles for the XML documents. While applying that, we are going to get the output like that. Just look at that. Here we are not specifying any color for this description. This is the student description is called as the heading. We are not specifying any styles, but we specify the styles for this that is content which we are going to specify, that is a USN, then name, college, branch, year, as well as the email ID. For all those things we are specifying the properties, that is display, how it is displaying, then margin left, from the left side how it is taking, then font size as well as the color. Remember the display, margin left, as well as the font size, all are same except the color property. This is about the output. While executing that program, we are going to got this output. Okay, let us know how to execute the XML document. We already know the procedure to execute the HTML document. Here also we are following the same rules. Remember one thing guys, there is a slight difference while using the different operating system to execute the XML as well as the HTML documents. Anyhow, we are using the Windows operating system. I will tell you how to run and execute the XML documents. First open the notepad, then type the XML content here. Just look at that. I type the XML content here, starting with the XML processing instructions, followed by doc type declaration, then HTML part, then here the student is called as the root tag. Just look at that, the students is called as the root tag, whereas this student it is these three, they are called as the student three student details. Inside that we are specifying different tags for that, USN name, college, branch, year, as well as the email ID. This is about the XML. And remember one thing guys, I am externally referring this cascading style sheet file called as the VI.css or program VI.css. For that we need to make use of one more file called as the cascading style sheet file. This is the cascading style sheets for that XML document. Just look at that. Here I am specifying that properties, different styling properties for the tag. These are all the properties for the student. Then these are all the properties for USN. Likewise, we are using the 4 properties for the different tags. But for the in that 4 properties, 3 properties takes the same value. That is display is block, margin left is 10. Sometime it can be 20. Font size is 14, some it is taken as 12, and the colors are different for all the tags. Let us know how to run this program is after typing this program. Save this program as VI.css, and also for XML save this program as VI.xml. After saving as well as closing the document, let us know how to run this document. In order to run this document, just click on that XML document, just right click on that or double click on that. After right click on that, open this document with any browser which are available on your system. I'm opening with the Internet Explorer. Here just look at that guys, this is what the output of that XML document. Just look at that. I'm not specifying any colors here. I'm not specifying any color for the student description, but for USN name, college, branch, year, email ID takes the different colors in order to display the content. Let me tell you one thing guys, the question may arises here, why we need to use this USN means. Ma'am, is there any difference, or it is mandatory means? If I am not specifying this, just look at that. I will tell you with an example. If I write like this, just look at that, I am erasing some content. After editing that, save this. Again, I am running this XML. Just look at the difference guys. For the first student details, I erase that labels. That is USN name, college, branch, year, as well as the email ID. Just look at this output. Just look at the second output. Is that difference right? Yes. Here by looking at that, we can understand some for that is here it is name, USN, college, branch, etc. For that reason, inside the element contents, we are specifying the labels called as USN name, college. Remember, there is no difference here, but our visualization purpose or to display the content in a proper format, we are using the contents like that. Here again I am changing that content, that is making as USN, then colon, then name, colon, then college, colon, then branch, colon, next is year, colon, next email, colon. Just save this document. Again, run this document. Just look at that. That has been changed. That is USL name, college, branch, as well as the year. This is about the execution of the XML document.